Oh, thank you very much. My name is Greg McLean. I'm the director/conductor of this auspicious ensemble, and this is actually my 25th year in directing this group. Yeah. And there are one or two guys that have been here with me pretty much the whole time. Thank you for coming out on a Monday night. We know you had other things you could have done, like homework. Those of you who are students. But we're going to have a good time tonight. We hope you will too. And that first piece, Shiny Stockings, written by the great Frank Foster, who worked with the Count Basie Orchestra for a long time. As a matter of fact, after Count Basie passed away, he led the band from 1986 to 1995. Our next piece is going to switch to the Latin groove. Those of you who are in my jazz history class, we talked about Latin grooves, and we talked about the Brazilian invasion of the late 1950s, early 1960s. This piece was written in 1957 by Antonio Carlos Jobim, one of the great popular composers of Brazil. And it was first recorded by Elisete Cardosa in 1958 and is generally considered to be the first bossa nova ever recorded. It's Chega de Saudade, I think is how you pronounce it. Where is Vicente when I need him to help me pronounce Portuguese? So this is going to feature Lester on tenor sax and Bob Devine on trombone. Chega de Saudade. Oh, thank you very much. Once again, Lester Pleasant on the tenor sax, Bob Devine on the trombone. All right, our next tune is written by the great Sonny Rollins, who is one of the jazz icons, still with us. Actually, he's in his 90s, and I'm happy to say that he and I share a birthday. We were both born on the same day, but different decades. So this tune was originally written in 1954, and Sonny actually recorded this with Miles Davis, who he worked with for a time. And of course, Sonny went on to be one of the main people in the hard bop style. Those of you who have studied this might remember that. And this is a great tune. It's a lot of fun to play. It's called Doxy. And as a matter of fact, when Sonny started his own record label, he called it Doxy Records. So here's Doxy by Sonny Rollins. Oh, thank you very much. How about another hand for Lester on the tenor sax? Roxelle Carter on the alto sax. Mark Tucker on the piano. And I won't be offended if you applaud for me. Thank you. And that brings up a point. The tradition of this music is after you have heard somebody play an improvised solo, or really a solo of any kind, it is appropriate and much appreciated if you applaud for us. That lets us know that you're listening and paying attention and that you like what we did, even if you didn't really like what we did. That's okay. We're a little less formal than a classical concert where you usually don't applaud until the end of a piece, but we like it when you clap in the middle. All right. Now we're going to move on to Darn That Dream. And this is interesting. This was written in 1939 for a Broadway musical called Swingin' That Dream that starred none other than Louis Armstrong. And it was roughly based on Shakespeare's play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. And the show was a flop. It only lasted 13 performances, but the song became a hit. For Benny Goodman, the same year, and then a year later, Goodman had a hit in 1940 on this very tune. It's normally a ballad. That means it's a slower-paced piece. This arrangement, this great arrangement by Mike Tamaro, it's back to a Latin groove. So this is a very nice arrangement of Darn That Dream. You're going to see Mark and I are going to be playing our flugelhorns. You'll see us switching back and forth a lot, and you'll see some mutes and stuff, so take notes. One, two, three. Okay, thank you very much. This is the first time that we have used this particular setup, and let me explain a little bit. Normally, I am out there conducting. We had an unusual situation. We found out that in order to have this group, everybody has to be registered as a student. That's why you see some guys up here with gray hair like me that are actually, everybody on stage is a student. So these guys have been coming, most of these guys, yeah, you can applaud for that, right. You should, because they're helping pay my salary. And these guys, many of them have donated their time to the college and to this band for many, many years. And as you can hear, they're very fine musicians, and I feel very blessed to be able to work with these guys. But when I came to them and said, guys, they're telling me you all have to be students. They said, I'll do it. We had a handful that couldn't pull that trigger for some reason. And so we ended up being a slightly smaller group. Thankfully, with the personnel we had left over, there are some wonderful arrangements that were available to us, and that's what we're playing tonight, affectionately referred to as a little big band. And so I'm ending up playing lead trumpet back here, and it's a lot of fun. So I'd rather be back here than up there sometimes. So thank you for indulging us. We're going to do All Blues by Miles Davis, and this is a really great, it's a 12-bar blues that's not a 12-bar blues. It was originally written in 1959 for the very famous album that, if you're in my class, you should remember this, Kind of Blue, which featured a lot of tunes written in the modal style, and this is no exception. But it was written in 6/8. That's what we call a compound duple meter. That means instead of going 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, we're going 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2. This particular arrangement's written in triple meter 3/4, but it has the same effect when you hear it. But it's a really cool effect to have a blues stretched out over a longer period of time. You'll hear Mark and I played the harmon mute this time, like Miles did. And here is Mike Tamaro's arrangement of All Blues. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yes, and as you see, one of the hazards of having mutes on stage is sometimes they get knocked over, sometimes completely off the stage, which is a challenge. You have to crawl around to find it. So speaking of Miles Davis, our next composition is by Jerry Mulligan, who worked with Miles Davis on the Birth of the Cool recordings in 1949, and he wrote a lot of the arrangements on that famous recording. He had his own group a few years later, around 1952, 53, and he used a similar concept where he put together a group with 8 brass, that's 2 trumpets, 1 trombone, 1 tuba, a French horn, which we don't have, and 3 saxes. We have tenor, alto, and baritone. Now, we had a baritone saxophone who was one of our community students, and he had to drop out. And I asked my good friend over here on the tuba, Robert Coulter, to come join us to play tuba because this actually has a tuba part. But Robert's been on stage the whole time because he's actually playing the baritone sax parts on tuba, which is kind of cool. And we've never tried that, and it works very well. This is a ballad, hence the title, A Ballad. It's kind of interesting that he didn't come up with something a little more original than that, but hope you enjoy this. This is A Ballad by Jerry Mulligan. One, two, three. right, very interesting tune. You notice there weren't any solos in that. That piece is all about the timbres, tone color. We're going to continue now with a wonderful standard tune, All the Things You Are. This was written in 1939 for a Broadway show called Very Warm in May, which also didn't last very long, although it did have 39 performances. And in 1939, Tommy Dorsey, the great jazz trombone player, and his band had a hit recording on this tune. And then Artie Shaw, the wonderful clarinet player, a year later had a hit on this. It is considered one of the most perfect show tunes ever written in terms of its structure. It's a 32-bar tune, and it goes into at least, there are 5 different keys centers that it goes into. So it keeps you guessing a little bit. It's one of my favorite tunes. This is All the Things You Are. Okay, every now and then we like to throw in a holiday tune, and this is one of the best known holiday tunes out there. Interestingly enough, it was written for an animated cartoon that came out in 1965. Most of you are familiar with A Charlie Brown Christmas. And it has an interesting backstory. I'm not going to go into all of it now because I don't want to get too long, but it was composed by Vince Guaraldi, who had written some other music that the producer Lee Mendelson had heard. He had actually a pop tune that played on the radio for a while, and he actually heard it on the radio, and so he hired Vince Guaraldi to write music for this this animated cartoon. And this is a different kind of arrangement. The original is in triple meter, 3 beats to a measure. This is actually in a 4/4 swing, this arrangement, which is really nice. So here's our version of Christmas Time Is Here. That's kind of a nice arrangement, don't you think? Yeah, it's a nice little way to play Christmas Time Is Here. Now, I always like to say no jazz concert would be complete without a rock tune. And this is going to sound a little like rock, but it's not quite rock. It's really what's known as a boogaloo, which is actually a Latin style, and it's a Latin dance that became popular back in the 1950s and 60s. And this piece was composed by Lee Morgan, the great hard bop trumpet player who played with the Jazz Messengers and played with a lot of people, recorded a whole lot on the Blue Note record label. And he wrote this tune called Sidewinder, and this is a really fun arrangement, and so we're going to do it for you now. Lee Morgan's Sidewinder. Okay, thank you very much. That's going to bring us to our last tune. We hope you've had as much fun up here as we have. And we're going to end with a great Duke Ellington composition entitled Cottontail, written in 1940. This is what we call in the jazz lingo, it's called rhythm changes. That is, it's a chord progression. For all of you students out there, it's a contrafaction of I Got Rhythm by George Gershwin. And that's now affectionately known as rhythm changes. And so this is a fun tune, a good arrangement. Thank you again for coming, and we hope you will come back and see us again sometime. If you have any questions, keep them to yourself. I'm kidding. If any of you have any questions, especially you students out there, please come up and ask the guys or ask me. We don't bite hard. That was a joke, y'all. I got 3 drummers. I can never get a rim shot. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you again. Thank you again. Please come see us. That's all we got. We're tired. So you'll have to wait till next semester.